My name is Devin Shelley. I'm going to be giving the Ransomware Tabletop Choose Your Own Adventure talk here. It's going to be audience interactive. So, those of you that do not wish to participate, please close your laptop lids. Otherwise, please go to Google if you can. If you can't go to Google, please close your laptop lids. Once you're on Google, then please type in dice roller. If we could pull up an example, Caden. Just like that. You'll see we'll have many different types of dice that we can roll, 4, 6, 8, 10, or 20. I may be coming around and asking any one of you with your laptop monitor up to roll a dice. So the genesis behind this is I was given an opportunity to do a ransomware tabletop with my executives. And you know how expensive that meeting could be when you get all the executives in a room. So I had very limited time to do this tabletop with them, but I wanted it to be interactive. So this is what I came up with. Originally, it was a Word document. I put it up on here on this website so that later on, if you all want to do the same thing with your executives, please feel free to. So, without further ado, we're just going to go into it. So, background. It's a Friday afternoon around 3 p.m., just before a 3-day weekend. It's been a rough week across the company. Sales conferences are just now ending. Manufacturing's been working overtime for the past 2 weeks, and the IT department is behind releasing a new feature for the product. So, here we go. Do you have a good dice roller up?
I do.
Okay, let's go with the first question. So an email, as most of these things happen, comes into your company. Please roll a 20-sided die.
20-sided die. 1.
And we get a 1.
Oh, no. Critical failure.
Yeah. Which means that we still get, because we multiply by 3, so we still have 3 of those emails come in before your email protection software of whatever recognizes it and stops it. So now let's, you sir, could you roll a 4-sided die for me? And I hope it's not 4.
3.
Oh, look at that. Okay. So now we have 3 of the emails, all 3 of those come through. Of the emails that come through, I'm just going to have to cheat on this one, and we're going to roll a 1-sided die. Only 1 of the emails get reported. Okay? So of that emails that don't get reported, could you roll a, what's the lowest number, 4? Yeah. 1, thank you. 1 of the emails, when one employee clicked on the link, and in order to keep this going, normally you would have a chance that your ransomware is designed to maybe run on a certain Linux OS or a certain Windows, and it might fail. But in order to keep this going, we're going to have 1 successful exploit of ransomware. So now, as always, with the luck of who clicked on it. So, do you mind rolling a, what do we have? 20-sided die. And we get a 5. So, an even number would have been a non-admin employee, but an odd number was an admin employee. So you just had an admin employee click on a link that had ransomware. Now, if it was by, let's scroll down past the non-admin employee to the admin employee, and have somebody roll a 12-sided die, please, sir. We got a 9. Okay. So, because that was an admin employee that clicked on that one ransomware link, we now have 9 systems that are infected and encrypted with ransomware. So, if we scroll down to the next page, Caden, please. Oh, one of them, no. So, we have 9 systems in our environment that are now infected with ransomware. Somebody raise their hand that wants to roll a really lucky die. Yes. Roll a 4-sided die for me.
3.
You got a 3. So they're asking for $250,000 in US dollars in Bitcoins. So now we need to find out what department this came in. Do you have the dice roller up? Thank you. Roll a 10-sided die. We get a 4. So it's like the colonial pipeline all over again. Finance. All of your financial systems are now ransomwared. They are all encrypted. And what are you going to do? So now let's roll a 4-sided die. Do you? No? Anyone back here have a? Yes, please. We got a 4. So this was a spear phishing attack. Somebody looked up in your company, and they looked up the CFO, and probably the controller, and that's where this phishing email went to. Let's go to the next page. So as you can see, this kind of walks you through a ransomware incident and what really could happen, because there's multiple things that could be going on. So at this point, you would summarize the event with your executives. Say, okay, what we know is a spear phishing email came in. We had an admin employee that clicked on it. It infected 9 of our financial systems. And they're asking for $250,000 in Bitcoin. So what should we do? Next slide. Okay, now here's where we get to the real meat of it. And this is where you start engaging people. I might even call people without laptops on. So, what would you do? What would you do first?
I would involve the IT people to kind of look into it and see what were the vulnerabilities in some of those systems that they could get in.
Excellent. Get a hold of your help desk or service desk. See what they could do. Okay? And then who would you report this to?
Secret Service or FBI.
Secret Service, FBI. Very good. Anyone here in the legal department of their company? No? No? Okay. You're now a lawyer.
All right.
Boom. So for the legal department, what is your company's obligations?
It depends.
Very good answer. It depends on what?
Agreements, actually.
The contracts, agreements that you have with your clients, things that you should go over. Okay. And then you look like a smart IT person. You're in the IT department. You just got a call that said we have 9 systems locked up. What kind of actions or stopgaps do you think we should do? Disconnect them from the network. Very good. Maybe investigate how far it's been. Does anyone know a good indicator of ransomware? What would you look for? A CPU bot. Very good. Maybe you could find decrypt_instructions.txt. That's a very common file. You could do a search across your network to see if you have that. What about teams for IT department? What do you think teams should be stood up to start an investigation?
Well, definitely your financial teams, which you've already gone over.
Okay.
Your data team,
Data team, okay. Maybe your information security team.
backup and recovery.
Very good. Backup and recovery. Who would be a good backup and recovery guy?
Well, in our company, snapshots are a lifesaver.
Yes.
With this kind of thing. So that's where we would probably go first after all the other legal and
Yep. Maybe your VMware administrator or hypervisor. Very good. Okay, I'm looking for somebody who has a very HR vibe to them right now. Who's the best dressed in here? Here we go. I know Eric. Eric, you're my HR rep now. We just had all of our financial servers encrypted. That might hold client data, but that might also hold payroll data for our company. So from an HR perspective, Eric, what do you think? Do we need to inform our employees? So, most of the time, yes. Maybe you might have like a 24 to 48 hour investigation window before you would need to be required to instruct your own employees. Now, customers, that comes in with your contracts and your SLAs and everything. Your own employees, that's kind of a gray area as to what you have to do. So let's put in there, Caden, like 48 hours after investigation.
We still don't know if the network's clear, so maybe the employees need to know so they can not help it spread.
Right. So maybe send out a general IT, like a notification coming out saying, we've had an incident happen, everyone get off the network for now. Good point. All right, I'm looking for somebody who looks like a CFO. Eddie, you're probably a future CFO. Who do you think needs to draft a response to your clients?
Probably the COO.
Okay.
But, yeah, or the PR department, whoever you've designated.
Yeah, PR department. And this is why you want to have this discussion with your executives at the time, because you're going to ask them these questions, and they might go, well, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Yes.
Wait, you really, for a lot of these things, you want to retain an outside legal firm that specializes in these things, and then you do whatever they tell you to do, as
Yep.
far as informing customers and, just about anything else.
Yes.
That's the same for PR as well. You want to have an outside eye. You don't want to have somebody who's too tied to it.
Yeah. So most companies will have like a cyber insurance policy that you want to activate and see what you have, what you can do, what they have available for you, maybe suggestions that they might have. So yes, you would want to you'd probably want to get legal involved. Let's write down legal and cyber insurance for that next line. This next question, I want to ask the whole room. Raise of hands, yes. Do we pay the ransom? That's what I thought. Raise of hands, no, we don't pay the ransom. There's a lot more hands. And raise of hands, maybe. That should be everybody. Maybe. Because there's too many things going on that we don't know, right? Okay, let's check maybe and move on. Okay, back to a decision time. So let's say, yes? Yeah, well, before we were talking about possibly bringing in the Secret Service or the FBI, but yes, depending on what kind of company you are, you may want to report to the government. But that brings up a good point. Do mom and pop shops, like if they call the government, do they just get hung up on? Who do they call? And should you have that relationship maybe beforehand? Do you call your local sheriff? Do you somehow get a hold of your local friendly FBI agent in case this ever happens and you have them in hand? Or, as was pointed out back here, do you activate your cybersecurity insurance and get those experts that have probably dealt with this probably 5 times a day on a weekly basis as it's been going on? Yes?
Is the FBI required to investigate every single call for ransomware, or do they get a whole lot of false positives, cry wolf?
Good question. And from my understanding, working with the FBI on a couple occasions, not under my current employer, I was in the National Guard and we did some cyber shield exercises. They will investigate, like with the Colonial Pipeline hack, for instance. If it is life, limb, or utility, that's where they will for sure get in there and help you out. If you're a mortgage company, then maybe not. Yes?
So generally, I worked there for a little bit. About $1 million is where they draw the line to where they'll actually put resources to it. But they do want to know because sometimes they're all related, but it usually has to be fairly substantial or life, limb, you know, something critical for them to do it. I mean, they get a lot of stuff in, and they just don't have the resources to look at all of it.
Yeah. They're probably putting together a database. They're hoping that they can collect these decryption keys, right? And that's one of the outcomes on here. Okay, so let's go through every outcome that's possible. Let's say the group does decide to pay the ransom. Did you have a roller up, sir? Oh. Okay, you got one up? Yeah, I got a 2. And he already rolled a 12-sided die, and he rolled a 2. So that's an even number. So in this scenario, we pay them. The bad actors take our money. They decrypt the impacted servers. However, 3 months down the road, we think we're free and clear, and they release all the data onto the dark web anyway. Now, there's even one worse than that. Like if you rolled a 12, you pay them, they decrypt, but they don't, I mean, so what? They decrypt your stuff and you're back to work, right? They also have a copy of all of your information on their servers. So what's to stop them from coming back 3 months later and saying, by the way, we still have all your data, pay us another $50,000 in Bitcoin or it's going to be released. Let's scroll down to the next scenario. Who haven't I called on yet? Maybe here in the front row. Yes, we'll go back to you. Let's roll another 12-sided die. We got a 7. So, 7, we don't pay the ransom, we get an odd number. The FBI does get involved, say that it was over $1 million, and they get your data decrypted. However, the bad actors still release all your data to the dark web. Now, let me work through a scenario here. We saw that the initial ransom was $250,000, right? What often happens with ransomware? When you have that up on your screen, it's asking for ransom, but there's something that usually comes along with that. Anyone? There's a time limit. And it's usually within 48 hours. And after that time limit, that ransom usually doubles. And so that's how easily a $250,000 initial ransom could easily jump up into the millions of dollars. So, next slide. So that's how you can conclude. We got through that in 17 minutes. And hopefully, your executives are asking a lot more questions, and they're turning to their colleagues and saying, well, okay, legal department, who's our biggest client? And what's our SLA with that biggest client? How fast would we have to turn around some kind of communication to our clients saying that we've been affected by ransomware? And what do we do? And maybe even, if you still have time with this, tell them to start drafting an initial communication. Talk to the HR people. Say, we need to let everyone in our company know that we've been infected with ransomware, but how do we do that with privileged communications so that we do not get that all out and this becomes a PR nightmare? So, and then I just listed some things here on the conclusion side, some more talking points that you can talk with your executives about, and why this is important, why this helped. So this helps identify gaps in our system. Hopefully this has been documented in like a business continuity plan or something like that that the company can then exercise. It helps clarify the roles in the company so that you know what person is going to be in charge of what. One thing that we didn't talk about is what happens if the press comes knocking on your door? What happens if a story like this gets leaked by an employee or the bad actors brag that they have that they've successfully got you. Yes.
Customer, sometimes the ransomers will contact your customers now that they have your information.
Yes. The statement was, sometimes after the bad actors know that they have successfully encrypted your data, and they're going to start looking through that, and they're going to see, oh, well, this company deals with, big banks. I'm going to go and contact Bank of America, one of their clients, and say, oh, by the way, I've just ransomwared your third-party vendor that, does all of your HVAC, Not to pick on HVAC guys. They're not really a target. Thank you. But it'd be a really bad day if you have one of your clients contact you and say, why haven't you told us that you've been ransomware? We got this communication from some guy in Russia that is saying that they have all of our data from your servers. So that would be very bad. And then the other point that this also does, it increases operational resilience and improves the effectiveness and the efficiency of this. If you can run through this, not only with your executives, but then a second time, run through it with your service desk. Run through it with your admins. Run through it with your information security team. You're probably not going to be able to get all those teams in a room at once, but that's okay. Do this separately. Get them all that you can whenever you can. Run through it with your international teams. This also increases critical thinking among leaders in near real conditions, because it really is the luck of the draw, and it kind of them being in a decision point. If you have them actually click on the dice to roll it and to see the outcome, that can really get them involved. It's a protection of the shareholder values. These exercises help reduce the risk of losing time and money of when the incident occurs. So we also want to encourage that. And then below there I have some preventative measures to help avoid ransomware altogether. So let's go over those briefly. We all know, public-facing RDP. Get rid of that. That's easily scanned. Anyone with a Shodan account can go out and find you, and then probably just password reuse and get right into your systems. MFA. It's going to be real hard if somebody steals your credentials if you have MFA enabled the right way to get in. Of course, patching systems regularly. And then a big one is fish training your employees. By raise of hand, how many people in here get to fish train your employees at least quarterly? Monthly? Only quarterly. Damn. Okay. And then test your backups. That one I save for last because it's really important. That'll really save your butt when everything goes wrong and you have no way to recover from this. If you don't test your backups, then you might just be paying $250,000 and trying to go to your CFO and say, I need to figure out how to buy Bitcoin. Can I have $250,000 in company money to pay for Bitcoin? So, but that's my presentation. Please, Caden, if you would bring up the QR code. If you want, you can scan this QR code, bookmark this page. Feel free to use that form. It's just a quick and easy Google form. I don't retain any of the information on there, but feel free to use this form to do this tabletop exercise at your companies. Any questions for me as I stand right in the lights? Okay, well, that's my talk. Thank you for attending.